Hi, welcome to my four-part series. Before you give up on learning English, here's what you should do. This is part one. In part one, I want to talk to you about loops. Two loops that we use in English that hold us back. Mindset is very important in how you learn English. It's not just your aptitude, your ability to learn. It is actually your attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude, how high you will go in any field of endeavor, including English. Before I start, I want to talk to you about one very important thought. There's a thought out of a cartoon series, Pogo, and the quotation in the cartoon says, "I have found the enemy, and it is us." Yes, very often we are our own worst enemy. And now I want to talk to you about how that applies loops. Part of loops is, a lot about what I'm talking about is very basic to how you think about how you are learning English or how you are learning English now. And the first loop I've talked about before is called the translation loop. And in the translation loop, the question goes in this side in English. It goes around in your brain to your native language. You translate from your native language an answer to the question in your native language. And then from this side, it retranslates the answer from your native language back into English, and it comes out your mouth. Well, you know, that's a very time-consuming effort. It's a lot of work. And it probably works with short questions and basic conversation. But you know, when you get into a higher level of conversation, it falls apart. You can't do it. You can't do this translation loop forever. It just gets harder and harder and harder. Unless you plan to become a professional translator, using the translation loop skill is both inefficient and ineffective, and you will not make progress over time. Just you're not using your brain efficiently. You know, we figured out there's a section in the brain here that's probably your native language. It's probably the biggest section. Over here, you probably got an English section. And in the middle, you've got this English native language section, which is where you're doing the translation. If you really want to become fluent in English, you got to jam this side up, the English section, and make it much bigger. And one of the things I recommend, of course, is to use an English to English dictionary. That's very important. You've probably been using an English to native language dictionary, and there's a reason for that. You want to understand what people are saying. Human beings, we have this strong desire to understand. Once we've developed understanding in our native language, we want to understand everything in everything that we hear, including English, which we don't understand. So we just quickly reach for an English to native language and native language dictionary, and we can understand. But it's really bad for your vocabulary development if you want to improve your English vocabulary. So get that English to English dictionary as a start. The second thing you can do to break the translation loop is an exercise called look around the room. And look around the room is an exercise where you look around the room and you say, in English, this is a chair, this is a book, this is a coffee table, this is my computer, that is the door to the kitchen, this is the door to the living room, this is the dining room chair. And you identify all the things in the room, but you do it in English. And it may be very simple, but you're doing this in English and you're starting to think in English. Then you can start making phrases and describing things. I am now going to work. I am now locking my door. I am now getting on the bus to go to work. And you talk to yourself. It sounds funny, but you talk to yourself in English. And soon your understanding of English becomes much better. And so talking to yourself and describing your room are two very useful techniques to break you out of the loop. If you've been using the translation loop for years, that's the beginning of how to get out of that loop. The more serious loop is what I call the self-belief loop. What you think about how you learn English really determines your outcome. So if you say, and I know this, when I start an English class, I always ask my students in the first class what they hope to learn and what they hope to accomplish. Out of 20 students, I always get 2 or 3 students that say, "I'm sorry, sir, I am a very poor English speaker." And then I have to remind them, that's why you're taking this class. Problem with that is you develop it and you sink it into your brain. It becomes part of your belief system. And it's a loop that plays in your brain. My English is bad. My English is poor. My English is not good. And then you believe it. It becomes like almost like a religion, your creed. And that's really when it becomes bad. And it becomes like a loop that plays in your brain. My English is no good. My English is poor. I'm a slow learner. All these things are loops that we play and play and play like a tape in our brain. And those things are not really good for us. Just to give you another idea, I also tell the students, would they like to try an exercise for a week or maybe 30 days? And they say, sure. I said, this is kind of like homework. When you get home, tomorrow morning when you get up, before you even brush your teeth, I want you to get up and go to your mirror. And I want you to say to yourself, I am sick. I am very, very sick. I may need to go to the hospital soon. And I want you to do this for 30 days. Then I ask my students, would they like to do it? And they all say, you're crazy, sir. If I do that, I'm going to get sick and wind up in the hospital. So then I ask them, if you keep saying to yourself, my English is poor, my English is bad, I cannot speak English, what's going to happen after, well, I don't know how long you've been doing it for, what's going to happen to your brain and how you think about how you learn English. So really tell yourself every day, in every way, my English is getting better and better. When you go to an English class or you watch a YouTube video, you say, by watching this video, my English is getting better and better. Every day in every way, my English is getting better and better. I'm taking an English class, so now my English is getting better and better. Frame your loop so that it becomes more positive, and it will have a positive impact on your life. Having the loop in your brain that says you're a poor English learner or your English is bad, you're labeling yourself with something that you don't need to label yourself. We can change. And so label yourself that you are changing. Your English is getting better and better.